Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Xiaolin Perspectives. And today we're going to be discussing episode 24 of Xiaolin Showdown, Master Monk Guan. And this episode begins, as most Xiaolin Showdown episodes do, with the Xiaolin monks looking for a new Shengong Wu. In this case, what they're looking for is a lasso called the Lasso Boa Boa, which apparently has the power to transform into a bone-crushing constrictor, at least according to Dojo, whenever it's activated. As such, as you do, the Xiaolin monks travel to where the Lasso Boa Boa is, which in this case is in a forest near a waterfall. They end up finding the Shengong Wu, and they end up doing battle with Jack Spicer, who unleashes a horde of his new Wuya bots on the warriors. They end up whooping their collective asses, just win the day, and send Jack Spicer and go packing. However, before they can get their hands on the Shengong Wu, a new player enters the fray. In this case, a monk by the name of Master Monk Guan, which the instant he appears on the scene, Omi ends up just going starstruck because apparently Master Monk Guan is famous, and he seems friendly enough as he introduces himself to the Xiaolin monks, is happy to see them, and even just hands over the Lasso Boa Boa. As such, with introductions out of the way, the Xiaolin monks end up bringing him back to the Xiaolin temple with them, where he continues showing off his moves as while they're playing ball, he just kind of uses his moves to just kind of kick a few balls in the air and just kind of juggle them without even using his hands. As such, Omi explains that apparently Master Monk Guan is considered a great Xiaolin warrior, and he's achieved victory many times using only a single weapon called the Staff of Guan, which Master Monk Guan just kind of feels humbled by Omi knowing all this, and thinks it would be that it's just an honor in and of itself to meet the Xiaolin monks and be here with them. However, as Master Monk Guan is receiving all this praise, the Xiaolin monks are kind of giving a little bit of shit to Dojo, as well. As you do in tightly knit groups, they're beginning to give the little dragon a bit of shit as they just kind of start poking and prodding at him. It's supposed to be kind of like gentle teasing, as they're making fun of the fact that apparently he doesn't move very fast, and that apparently he eats too much, that he's getting a little fat, etc. But Dojo doesn't interpret it as that. Later on, when the Xiaolin monks and Dojo are sitting down for a meal, we see Dojo just pigging out on this stuff, and the Xiaolin monks continue just poking and prodding at him. And while again it's supposed to come across as just kind of gentle teasing, well, it doesn't. Well, it's not that way to Dojo, as it feels like that his friends are calling him fat and a lazy slowpoke that can't get anything done. As such, while they all laugh and end up leaving the room, Dojo just is left behind feeling offended. However, when Dojo's alone, Master Monk Guan ends up kind of sitting down and talking with Dojo, saying that he thinks that Dojo is impressive because there's not many creatures in the world that can actively sense Shengong Wu, and he thinks that Dojo should feel proud of that fact. On top of that, he feels that there is someone out there that Dojo would be appreciated by, someone that Master Monk Guan would be happy to introduce Dojo to. As such, Dojo, like I said, already feeling a little bit underappreciated, decides to take Master Monk Guan up on his offer, and they go to meet with whoever this person is. And Master Monk Guan ends up directing Dojo to basically a very threatening looking mountain, as they end up going where they end up going is a mountain that looks like it has a demonic face with the mouth of this demon acting as the door. As such, Dojo already is a little freaked out, but he continues following Master Monk Guan until they enter the mountain, and on the inside, it actually looks rather nice, as it looks like there are a bunch of gazebos and like little palaces, waterfalls. It just actually looks like a rather peaceful place. And Dojo is just a little surprised by this, though he gets the feeling that someone's watching them. As such, he decides to finally ask Master Monk Guan who this friend of his is. And Master Monk Guan claims that it is someone by the name of Chase Young, which when Dojo hears that, he immediately freaks out, because apparently Chase Young is a very big deal, and yeah, he's evil. He is very much an evil bastard, and he's supposed to be like one of the big kahunas of evil. And as such, when Dojo hears that that's the person he's supposed to meet, he tries to make a run for it, only for the door to get slammed in his face, and for him and Master Monk Guan to be surrounded by several lions and tigers and other various big cats. And sure enough, the owner of this big giant citadel, Chase Young, finally reveals himself, only really being in shadow and just kind of standing at the top of some stairs. And it turns out he and Master Monk Guan had made a deal. As it turns out, through circumstances we only learn about later, Chase Young had gotten his hands on Master Monk Guan's, Staff of Guan, and he told Master Monk Guan that if he wanted it back, Master Monk Guan had to deliver Dojo. And, well, dojo he brought, and so Chase Young honors his end of the bargain as he throws the staff back to Guan, and Guan, looking ashamed, ends up being allowed to leave. As such, Chase Young, now having the dragon, ends up telling Dojo that he needs to come with him because it's time for dinner, which Dojo at first, justifiably thinks that maybe he means that Chase is gonna feed him to his cats. But no, he actually means he's going to feed Dojo dinner. As when we check back in with the dragon, he's sitting at a table, and the table is just covered in some of the nicest looking food you would ever expect. And, well, Chase expects Dojo to eat it all, which he does. He just gorges himself on this stuff. And even Chase asks him if it's to his liking, and Dojo says, yeah, it's probably one of the best meals he's had in 600 years. And it's here we finally get a look at what Chase Young looks like. And, yeah, he basically just looks like, I'm just gonna say it, a pretty boy. He's got, like, long black hair, he's got a handsome face, he sounds rather friendly, but, hold on one second. Sorry, blanking on a word. He looks very friendly and approachable, almost welcoming even, as his tone just kind of seems, his tone comes across more like someone welcoming a guest into their home. And likewise, he even kind of reflects this attitude as he just kind of snaps his fingers and his big cats end up taking away Dojo's dirty dishes and just bring him a platter of more desserts. Although there is still a little bit of threatening look to Chase, because despite his pretty boy face, his eyes look very inhuman, as they look very lizard-like, and they are red, just completely red with, like, black irises. It's just very creepy. As such, while Dojo says he's flattered by all the food that Chase Young is providing him, he does think that maybe he should, get going, get back to the temple, only for Chase Young to sick his big cats on Dojo and give him an ultimatum. Either he can stay here and live comfortably, or he can become cat food. And so Dojo, really having no options, just kind of goes with the former one. Meanwhile, back with the Xiaolin monks, they're wondering where the hell their little dragon has run off to, since, he's still one of their teammates, and him just going off and disappearing is kind of concerning. Master Feng claims that wherever Dojo is gone, he will probably show up when a new Shengongu reveals himself so they can find him then, but they really don't know when a Shengongu will reveal itself, since Dojo was their resident Shengongu tracker. Thankfully, though, Kimiko has a way around it, as once again the Xiaolin monks break into Jack Spicer's compound, again, revolving door, and they end up throwing a tracker on a Humvee that he is building. And what's going on is that the next time a Shengongu reveals itself, Jack, of course, will go and try and get it, and the Xiaolin monks will just follow him there where they'll hopefully meet up with Dojo. And sure enough, as soon as they do this, a new Shengongu does reveal itself. In this case, a pair of sandals called the Monsoon Sandals, who, when activated, will give whoever wears them legs that can stretch for miles, which Jack, when he hears that from Wuya, thinks, oh, I've always wanted that, and so he takes the Humvee off to go and find the sandals, which, when he finds them, he immediately puts on. As such, the Xiaolin monks go and try and confront Jack Spicer, but he activates the sandals right away and just kind of knocks them aside with a little effort, though he does fall over because he sent himself right into the sky and gave him a nosebleed, which in turn causes him to lose his balance and fall over. But thankfully, the Xiaolin monks' gambit does pay off, as it turns out Dojo did sense the Monsoon Sandals, and he and Chase Young went to go see what was going on, with Chase Young catching Jack when he falls over, and it turns out Jack knows who Chase is too, as apparently Chase Young is Jack Spicer's personal hero, as in the world of evil, like I said, Chase is a big deal. As such, Jack immediately just goes completely fanboy for Chase, even offering Chase his Shen Wu, but Chase isn't really going for it. In fact, later on in the same meeting, Chase admits that he has very little interest in Shengang Wu and only came here because he had heard about the Xiaolin monks in Dojo and wanted to see them in action. And sure enough, when the Xiaolin monks see Dojo is there, they do ask where he ran off to and if he can come back with them. But of course, Dojo is being a little standoffish because, well, like I said, he was feeling unappreciated. The Xiaolin monks do apologize and say they didn't mean to hurt his feelings. They were just trying to give him gentle ribbing, but they do appreciate him because, one, he's their resident Zhengong Wu tracker and is valuable, and two, he's just a part of the team, and they don't want to don't want to forget him, which does tug on Dojo's heartstrings. But he says he still can't go with them because he's with Chase Young, even though at this point he could still grow to giant size and fly away at the Xiaolin monks. But hey, what do I know? Either way, Chase Young isn't willing to let Dojo go without a fight, and so the Xiaolin monks decide to confront him in a battle. They don't even get a chance to hit him. I'm not even kidding. Chase just starts the fight by drinking a bowl of soup, not even doing anything, and any attacks thrown at him, he just dodges and blocks without even looking at the Xiaolin monks. And when they try ganging up on him, he literally just jumps out of the way and lets them run into each other. Basically, Chase makes it clear that they are outclassed in every sense of the word, and from there he just kind of leaves. However, before he and Dojo leave, the Xiaolin monks did manage to ask Dojo why the heck he's with Chase Young, and he admits that he was traded by Master Monk Guan, much to the Xiaolin monks' confusion. As such, after Chase and Co leave, and Jack, I'm guessing, follows Chase because we see him later at Chase's Citadel, the Xiaolin monks decide that they need to find Master Monk Guan. And sure enough, they take the Silver Manta Ray, which is how they were following Jack in the first place, and they end up finding Master Monk Guan in his travels and do finally question him, and he confirms that, yeah, he was the one that traded Dojo. And he finally does explain how he lost the Staff of Guan. It turns out that several years prior, Guan and Chase were engaged in a battle, which we end up seeing in a flashback. That's actually a really damn good bit of animation. It actually looks like the kind of art style you would see on a Chinese tapestry, and it looks really damn good. I just recommend, if you haven't seen the episode, I recommend at least looking up that segment. It's animated beautifully. And apparently the battle lasted for several days and nights, with Guan and Chase just not giving an inch to each other, and both of them just putting their damnedest into trying to beat the other. However, eventually the battle did end when Master Monk Guan unintentionally gave Chase an advantage by trying to attack him with the staff in Guan, and Chase, well, managing to take it right out of Guan's hands and using it to secure a victory. As such, from there, he told Master Monk Guan that if he ever wanted the staff back, then he needed to bring him a dragon, which is where Dojo came into the fray. And of course, the Xiaolin monk's questions are, well, why does Chase Young want Dojo? And it's here we get a bit of Chase Young's backstory. Apparently, once upon a time, Chase Young was a good guy. He fought monsters just like the Xiaolin monks do, and was apparently a very noble and strong warrior. But one day, he made a deal with the devil, so to speak, and wound up getting his hands on a soup recipe for something called the Lao Ming Lo soup, which is the very soup that he was drinking when the Xiaolin monks confronted him earlier. And basically, by drinking this soup, it transformed Chase Young into the monster we see today, and it also is what keeps him young. And the thing is, the soup can be replicated, but there are very specific ingredients it needs. Some of them are pretty mundane stuff you'd find anywhere, except for one ingredient: a whole dragon. Yep, Chase Young plans to cook Dojo into soup, something that becomes very apparent to Dojo as while he's gorging himself, he's resting in a big pot of what looks like broth before Chase finally decides he's ready and decides to finally cook him into the soup. So yeah, Dojo's goose is a little cooked right now. No pun intended. Thankfully, though, Master Monk Guan, still feeling a bit remorse for what he has done, does direct the Xiaolin monks to Chase's Citadel, and so the Xiaolin monks take the Silver Manta Ray to Chase's hideout, and, well, it's clear that they walked right into a trap, as instead of walking right into that nice little area that Dojo and Guan saw when they first arrived, they end up getting trapped in a cavern, and they end up getting cornered right into this central room where Dojo is sitting right in the pot, where Dojo is just kind of sitting right in the pot of soup. As such, the Xiaolin monks want to go and rescue him, but it's at that point that Chase makes himself known, with Jack Spicer acting as his cheering squad. And we see that there is another side effect to Chase Young drinking the Lao Ming Lo soup, as immediately he transforms into a lizard monster. And apparently, this is Chase Young's true form now, and the only reason that he's able to still retain a human form at all is because he keeps drinking the Lao Ming Lo soup, which is why he wants to continue giving himself a steady supply of the stuff. And, well, let's just say the Xiaolin monks decide that they need to kind of win their dragon friend back so he doesn't end up becoming an ingredient. As such, they end up pulling out their Shen Gong Wu and fighting Chase in his new form, but again, they're outclassed, as Chase just effortlessly walks right through them and manages to knock them all aside, and even just kind of threateningly offers them a chance to have a bowl of Dojo themselves. However, before Chase Young can seriously hurt anyone, Master Monk Guan reappears as he's decided that he wants to help everyone. And as such, he challenges Chase Young to a showdown. Yeah, not a Xiaolin showdown, just a plain old regular showdown. Even Dojo admits that they haven't had one of those in a long time. As such, the contest is just your basic one-on-one battle: Chase Young versus Master Monk Guan. And the stakes of the battle are this: if Master Monk Guan wins, then both Dojo and the Xiaolin monks are free to go. But if Master Monk Guan loses, then he basically will allow himself to become Chase Young's eternal slave and join the other warriors that fell to Chase Young as one of his cats. Which, yeah, apparently all the cats that Chase Young has working for him are other warriors who challenged Chase Young and lost. Yeah, Chase has quite a few cats, so apparently he does not know loss very much. As such, Master Monk Guan accepts these terms, and thus, with the yell of Gong Yi Tung Pai, the two warriors engage in battle. And the thing is, because this isn't a Xiaolin showdown, we don't really get any weird, strange effects that we would normally see with a regular Xiaolin showdown. With that said, we're not bereft of strangeness either, since after all, this battle is happening in Chase's house, and it turns out that all around the arena, Chase has little switches that, when activated, do end up changing the environment around them. Like, for example, there's a central platform where Dojo is located, and by just flipping a switch, this little path surrounding it opens up and leads to a fire pit surrounding them. With a flip of another switch, mirrors just pop up and just kind of narrow where you can go, and by flipping another switch, you can actually flip the mirrors and disorient people. So there are still some creative and unique effects, but for the most part, this is just a kung fu battle between Chase Young and Master Monk Guan. And at first they both are utilizing weapons to fight each other, eventually they do put their weapons aside, and they do end up fighting hand to hand. And while it seems pretty evenly paced, eventually Master Monk Guan does start getting the advantage, as Chase Young is looming ever closer to him, he charges up a key attack and manages to deliver a coup de grace, which knocks Chase Young right through his little hall of mirrors, right into the vat that Dojo is located in, essentially securing Master Monk Guan the victory. As such, once all the traps that Chase set up are dispelled, Master Monk Guan meets up with the other Xiaolin monks, but it looks like they may still not be getting out of here alive, as all of Chase's cats surrounded the group, only for Chase Young to call them off, as with his loss, he's now returned to his human form, and he tells the cats that he accepted the challenge, and he lost. Therefore, the Xiaolin monks, Master Monk Guan, and Dojo are free to go, even if he doesn't want that. There's still clearly some honor left in the guy, as he does at least maintain his end of the bargain, and while Jack is a little confused by this, well, he doesn't really have final say in this. As such, with a bow on both sides, both Chase and the Xiaolin monks promise they'll probably meet again one day, as the Xiaolin monks and Dojo end up leaving, with Jack Spicer kind of being thrown out as well, because I think Chase Young is kind of getting a little annoyed with the evil boy genius, as you would. Either way, Master Monk Guan thanks the Xiaolin monks for giving him courage, which I'll talk about when I get to his character in the episode, and as a show of thanks, he ends up giving Omi the Staff of Guan to show that he doesn't need this thing anymore. Before Omi can return the thing, Master Monk Guan just sort of vanishes. As such, Omi now has this new souvenir that he's happy to have, and so the Xiaolin monks get going back on the Silver Manta Ray, not using Dojo because he ate a lot and he still needs to kind of work off all that fat, and they fly back to the temple with Master Monk Guan just traveling off somewhere and smiling at having met the Xiaolin monks. So there you go. But yeah, that was Master Monk Guan. My thoughts on it? I think it's a pretty good episode. I admit that there are some things that I feel story-wise could have been expanded on better in the episode, but otherwise I did enjoy it. And one of the main reasons why I liked it was Chase Young. As I mentioned last week, Chase Young is another big bad for the series, and I think as an introduction, this episode did him well, as from the outset, he comes across as a different class of villain and compared to all the other villains that we've seen throughout the episode. Well, to give an example, the closest we've had to big bads in the series have been Jack Spicer and Wu Ya. Jack Spicer only really gets that title because he's the villain that the Xiaolin monks consistently have to duke it out with over the course of the series, since he's the one that became first aware of the Shen Gong Wu and wants to use and actively seeks them out to get world domination, with Wuya sort of acting as his advisor. And likewise, in the case of Wuya, she acts as a big bad. It was because of her being unsealed from her prison inside the puzzle box that the events of this show happen at all, and we've seen that when she's fully powered up, she is more than a force to be reckoned with. But the thing is, though, Jack Spicer and Wuya are, I don't like saying this, they're kind of your typical Saturday morning villains. Don't misunderstand. I don't mean that as a diss at either of character, because I do like them as villains. Jack Spicer may be kind of a moron, but he's still entertaining in his own way and does make for a good foil to the Xiaolin monks. And as for Wuya, like I said, her and Jack's relationship is a ton of fun, and she can legitimately be threatening when she wants to be, and while she can be more competent than Jack, like I said, she tends to like to lean into more of the evil stereotypes whenever she feels into it. That stays the case. That stays the case even when she's at full power. She clearly loves being evil, just toying with people, and just kind of being a complete and utter bitch. That's just who she is. But Chase Young, this guy from his very outset feels different than the other baddies. He's very clearly evil, and like with Jack and Wuya, he kind of enjoys being evil. But there's an element of class to him, if that makes any sense. Like I said, when we actually see him out of the shadows, he comes across as a rather pleasant fellow, kind of unassuming, almost friendly in a way. Yeah, there's still clearly something off about him, because there's still a threatening aura to him. When he first shows up, he sounds threatening. He sounds very threatening, and despite his polite demeanor, there's a slight edge that you can still feel in his voice, which is evidenced when Dojo asks if he can leave, and Chase's response is to sick his cats on him. Even if you don't want to see that, like I said, his eyes are not human. They are lizard-like eyes. And to give another example, and kind of a nice bit of foreshadowing to when you see his eventual lizard form, in the flashback scene where Guan and Chase were fighting, well, there's a scene where we see Chase blink, and it's basically just the bottom eyelids it's basically bottom eyelids up, like when a lizard blinks, so to speak. It's a nice little indicator that Chase Young is not quite what he seems, which I like. It's a nice little bit of foreshadowing. And the fact that he has the monstrous form, the fact that he has this monstrous form at all, is a nice little juxtaposition to his more pretty boy, to the more pretty boy like look that we see him in. But even when he's in his monster form, he still seems to have an element of class, as he still comes across as friendly, complimenting warriors that he thinks are very skilled, as when Omi tried doing battle with him, even he said that Omi seemed like a very skilled warrior, and likewise, even when he lost the battle to Master Monk Guan, he still kept up his end of the bargain and let him and the other Xiaolin monks go. Like I said, there's an element of he comes across as very different, very friendly, very outgoing, someone that you could probably just sit down and have a chat with, which in turn makes him even more threatening when he's doing something evil, because you know that this guy does mean to do you harm. There is still ill will in what he does, and it comes across more like And despite his polite demeanor, it doesn't feel like he has your best interest at heart when he talks to you. It's more like you can sense that he's already thinking of ways to manipulate you. And it really does do a good job at setting him up for later episodes, because like I said, by showcasing this demeanor to him and showcasing how he operates, it really does make you feel intriguing. It really does make you feel intrigued. And likewise, this episode didn't really show him doing anything like big or grand. It's just he needed a specific ingredient for a soup that he used to keep himself young. And the thing is, while you can feel that he might have grander ambitions, he also comes across as someone that's ready to just kind of sit and wait and see what happens. In the case of when he had Dojo, it wasn't like he was trying to immediately stuff things down his throat in order to fatten him up to use as an ingredient. No, rather, he was polite with Dojo, friendly, asking him, hey, is the food to your liking? Do you need anything? Just let me know and I can get it for you. It feels like someone that was ready to kind of play the waiting game. And you can kind of immediately sense that because, like I said, the only reason that Master Monk Guan brought Dojo to Chase at all was because Chase had his Staff of Guan. And according to Master Monk Guan himself, Chase had this thing for years. And the fact that this deal was struck at all and that Chase waited this long, despite the fact that that someone like Dojo was such an integral ingredient, shows just how much patience that Chase has. And I like that. Like I said, I like that. On top of that, it's clear that he is not like a lot of the other villains. All the other villains seem to want to make a grab at power at any opportunity they can get. Regardless of whether or not that justifies their end goal or not depends on the villain. Like when you have someone like Katnape, she doesn't really want power because she wants to rule the world. It's just that she likes to have power because she just likes feeling that rush, having the shiny things that make her happy and so forth. But ultimately, she does want power, or maybe someone like, say, Tubby Mora, who will also make a grab at power, but not because he has greater ambitions, but because his boss wants to do it, and he likes just doing evil shit. In the case of Chase, however, he is not after that, and kind of going back to how he comes across as sort of an honorable warrior. He is not interested in Shengong Wu. Like I said, when Jack offers him the monsoon sandals, he just kind of brushes them off and says, I don't really care about these things. I only came here to see the monks. And he even ends up dropping a little tidbit of advice and some sage-like wisdom that you would probably hear out of Master Feng. As he says, a true warrior's strength does not come from their weapons, but from the strength of their spirit, which I like that. Again, that's not really something that you would expect someone evil or stereotypically evil to be saying. But the thing is, this shows that Chase Young does have a sort of code of honor, so to speak. That unlike the other villains that we've seen so far, this guy, while having grander ambitions, is someone that doesn't want to get them by cheating. Oh, sure, he'll play you and manipulate you to get what he wants. But there are certain codes that he doesn't want to cross. Like I said, when he and Master Monk Guan had their showdown, he honored the terms of the showdown and let Guan and the Xiaolin monks go just because he agreed and said, if you win Guan, then I'll let everyone go. And then likewise, like I said, when he actually had Dojo under his sway, he did come across as very polite and friendly. And when he actually duked it out with the other Xiaolin warriors, like I said, he was complimenting them on their skills, which again is not something that you would see from your average everyday villain of the week. It's fascinating and really does paint Chase Young as someone other than the typical baddies that we would have seen in this show. And it makes you intrigued by him and want to learn more about him, as it really does show that this is not like any of the other villains. This is not a guy who has some kind of humorous twist to him. This is a guy that is evil, but he's the best kind of evil. The kind that is patient, the kind that is kind, the kind that is manipulative, the kind of villain that plays the long game and will watch happily as all the pieces that he set up fall into place. It's interesting, and I think it acts as a good introduction to the character and and does well in setting him up for future episodes, like I said. So, again, good stuff from the beginning. On top of that, the whole danger with Dojo being in danger, it's cool. I dig it. I'm sorry I keep doing redundant stuff. It's just kind of how I talk. I don't think things through. But like I said, going back to Dojo, what I like with that is that I was kind of ready to give this episode crap because the stuff with Dojo feeling unappreciated, I felt has been done before in the Night of the Sapphire Dragon episode. But the difference here is that that episode mostly dealt with Dojo's capability as a fighter in comparison to the other Xiaolin monks and him kind of coming into his own. Whereas in this episode, while he does end up getting shit thrown his way, unlike in the Sapphire Dragon episode where Dojo did kind of falter, this one was just basically basically the Xiaolin monks giving him crap because that's what close-knit groups tend to do. It's just that the Xiaolin monks didn't realize that their comments were actually hurting Dojo, and likewise, Dojo feeling offended was more willing to leave, even though the Xiaolin monks genuinely meant him no harm. In that regard, like I said, that plot point I was willing to kind of give some crap to, but I am willing to cut it some slack, because the Xiaolin monks are genuinely worried where Dojo is, and when they find him, they do apologize for what they said, because they genuinely didn't mean to hurt his feelings. But what makes it better is the fact that because Guan took advantage of Dojo in basically an emotional moment of weakness, it put Dojo in a very compromising situation that he sadly can't get out of very easily. Even though he could have gotten out at least once, but whatever, I'm not writing the episode. My point, but either way, so there's at least some tension there as you realize that Dojo is genuinely in danger, and that Chase is not keeping him comfortable for his own sake. I do like that. And actually, to give another bit of kudos to Chase Young as a villain, his backstory does make him a bit more complex, as he's the first villain that we've heard of that used to be one of the good guys. And kind of going back to how he used to be a good guy, it's clear that some of his morals still carried over even when he joined the dark side. Like I said, he still has a code of honor to him. He still comes across as humble and does compliment his opponents when he thinks they're skilled. So again, it does give him more angles, and it does kind of give him more depth than your standard bad guy. So again, I like it. It's nice. It's cool. But likewise, like I said, the stuff with the tension with Dojo, I think is really good stuff. But if I have to give this episode one major flaw, it is sadly Master Monk Guan himself. Now, I'm not going to say that Master Monk Guan is a bad character. I think he's alright, but the problem is that for an episode called Master Monk Guan, he doesn't get as much attention as you would think. If anything, most of the episode mainly just focuses on introducing Chase Young, setting him up, and then showcasing the Xiaolin monks and the resulting conflict when they try to save him. Which that's not a bad story, but for an episode called Master Monk Guan, and having the central focus of the episode kind of being his own character journey, he doesn't have as big a part in the episode as you think he would. Which, let me explain that. I didn't get into it when I did the plot summary, but the thing is, part of the reason why Master Monk Guan was so desperate to get his staff back was because, well, he felt like he was useless without it. Yes, he was a very skilled Xiaolin warrior, but the staff was kind of his winning thing. Was kind of like his winning thing. Like I said, Omi stated that when Master Monk Guan usually only achieved victory in all the battles that he did because he had the staff of Guan. And so to have this thing get taken away from him, Master Monk Guan felt that he had been lessened, that he was not the same great warrior that he was before. And, well, while it was clear that he felt shame and that he had to rely on the weapon so much, at the same time, he knew that he needed it back if he wanted to retain the glory that he had, which in turn just kind of led to some more sullying of his soul. As he eventually got his staff back, but even he knew that he had to do some very shady things to get it, and he's not proud of it. So I at least do like that. And the thing is, part of the conflict in the episode for him at least is him having to learn that he never needed the staff of Guan in the first place, which I think is exemplified by the fact that at the end of the episode, he gives the staff to Omi, as when the Xiaolin monks confronted him earlier in the episode, Omi stated that Master Feng always told them that the weapon itself is not what makes it more. The weapon itself is not what makes it what the strength of a weapon is not in and of itself. I'm butchering this. The point is, a weapon itself is not great, but the strength of the warrior holding the weapon is what really counts. And again, I'm butchering that to hell and back, but Master Monk Guan does at least take that statement to heart when he battled Chase Young in the showdown. As halfway through the battle, he wound up just putting the staff down and fought Chase Young on his own terms, which I do kind of find which again, that conflict in and of itself is not a bad character conflict. The whole idea of a great warrior losing something that they felt helped define them and doing underhanded things to get it back, but feeling like they sullied themselves only to regain that courage and realize I never needed this thing in the first place. I was the one that was great. I like that. It's nice. The problem is that because Chase Young, I'm getting my names mixed up, but because Master Monk Guan was not really featured as prominently in the overarching plot, it makes his arc feel lesser, if that makes any sense. Because, like I said, the main focus of the story was on Dojo being captured by Chase Young, and, well, setting up Chase Young himself. And as a result, the stuff with Master Monk Guan feels lesser, if that makes any sense. It doesn't really feel like that we see his journey come to fruition. In fact, we see bits and pieces of it, but it feels like that we're missing a few. We're missing a few parts in between all that. Let me put it this way: after Master Monk Guan brought Dojo to Chase Young, the most we see of him feeling regret for his actions, or that he just looks forlorn as he leaves Chase's citadel. And then the next time we see him is when the Xiaolin monks seek him out. I think it would have been nice if the Xiaolin monks had seen him at the temple, and he still looked forlorn as he held the staff of Guan, and then maybe the Xiaolin monks noticed it, and they just and when they asked, maybe they could have shown him concern, he could have brushed it off and then said, maybe I should just go, and maybe I should go, I don't think I'm needed here anymore. And then likewise, that's when the Xiaolin monks end up finally finding him and asking him stuff. And likewise, I feel like it would have at least shown more stuff to him. And likewise, it's a similar case when he comes to help the Xiaolin monks at the climax of the episode. Because, like I said, the last time we saw him, the Xiaolin monks were just talking to him, and he told them where to find Chase Young. And at that point, he already felt remorseful about everything and didn't seem to show any signs of changing his mind. But then the next time we see him, he's like, no, actually, I am strong without this weapon, and it's thanks to you only that I saw it. Again, it feels like we're missing a few pieces of the puzzle here. We should have seen what led Master Monk Guan to this revelation. And as a result, because we don't see how his mind is operating or what he's really going through beyond maybe a few choice scenes, it results in him and his ultimate revelation feeling not as strong. And as a result, I feel like it does hurt the episode. Overall, it's fine-ish. But basically, it was missing a few key pieces that I think would have made the overarching character story that much better, and as a result, the stuff with Master Monk Guan just does not feel as important as it should have been. So, yeah, that feels like a problem. But otherwise, though, like I said, what we do have in the episode is fine. It's enjoyable. Like I said, Chase Young this episode further wound up introducing Chase Young, and I think as a first outing as a villain, he really does work as you learn just enough about him to realize just how much of a threat he is. And while we don't see a lot of him doing evil stuff, the stuff we do see of him shows him to be a very capable warrior, a great threat, while also coming across as someone that's very friendly and patient and polite. And that juxtaposed with his true monstrous appearance does make for someone that is someone that you really need to watch out for, as he's not just a good fighter, but he's also a smart warrior, and that combination can make for a deadly foe. So I think it works so I think overall it does work. And like I said, the stuff with Dojo, while kind of covering over plot points we've seen before, I'm willing to again give a slide because it gets resolved rather fast enough. And it's kind of nice seeing the Xiaolin monks have to go and save their dragon friend to try and make sure he doesn't end up in a bowl of soup. And likewise, the action is still really nice. The final show, I'll even give this episode kudos. I like that the final showdown in the episode was actually just a regular showdown. And the fight between Master Monk Guan and Chase Young was actually a really damn good fight scene. As we see both warriors utilizing their kung fu and martial arts to try and overpower the other, first with weapons and then just in hand-to-hand combat. It's really nice and I dig it. So again, good stuff. And again, give special kudos to the flashback scene. The animation in that was perfect. It was just amazing. So yeah, on the whole, Master Monk Guan, while definitely having its flaws, especially with the episode not really focusing as much on Guan as it should have, I think is still a pretty good episode, setting up Chase Young rather well, giving us enough of a taste of who he is as a character that we want to see more of him, and likewise giving us a nice enough conflict with some genuinely good action that overall I think makes for a good episode. Otherwise, if I have to think of anything else I want to talk about, I guess I could bring up the Shengang Wu in the episode that we see. Monsoon sandals are alright, I guess. Don't really see how you could use them very much unless you wanted to really walk tall in a parade, but whatever, I don't really care. And the lasso boa, admittedly, I think is a better Shengang Wu. It's a lasso that turns into a boa constrictor. That's fucking crazy, and I kind of love it for that. So, yeah, overall, pretty good episode. So it has some flaws in there that do kind of make me scratch my head, but otherwise, it's enjoyable for what it is, so yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. I thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson. I hope to see you next week. Take care.